Okay, you're all set.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the June 9th, 2021 Conservation Advisory Council meeting to order. Start by taking roll.
So I see Chairman Strayer.
Here.
Ellen Daviero. Ashok Ramasubramanian said he would be late. Chelsea Ratner is going to try to make it, but is also going to be late. Nicholas Buonanno.
Yep, here. Good.
And then our newest member, Steve Burkholder.
Here, thank you.
And then I think we did also hear from our student representative, Rihanna, that the move of the meeting, she couldn't attend tonight. But Nick, if you just want to chat a little bit at the end of the meeting about you guys' thoughts, we'll put a report for you at the end of next meeting. So.
Okay, great. We don't have any minutes to approve at this meeting here, and I understand that we have no one at the privilege of the floor.
Yeah, I didn't receive any emails or requests.
Okay. Why don't we move on to the environmental assessment forms? And the first one we should discuss is EAF 2021-04, 2147 Eastern Parkway, where it is a 3-story mixed-use building. The applicant wants to take down the existing building and replace it with a newer building, which is mixed use. So Laura, do you want to just sort of review the overview of the project for us?
Yeah, I'm still getting used to the new Google Meets buttons. Here it is. Okay, sorry. Okay. And okay, if I can tonight, I will pull up the newer one. I just realized as I was flipping through here that when we did the CAC packet, we didn't have the updated drawing. We do have an updated drawing that shows the sidewalks going the length of the Eastern Parkway and moving the parking to the rear of the building. But essentially, this is the existing building. It's currently pretty vacant. Most of the professional medical office people that were in here moved to 1769 Union Street, the new building across the street and up a little. And the proposal is to take this building down and then put a new building that's slightly closer to the street with a sidewalk and a front door that faces the street. Mostly keep the parking the same. This green space is a little bit more green space, but probably also realistically stormwater. And then one of the things that we had talked about at the last time is that it's proposed to be a 3-story. There is some 3-story in the area, but not directly adjacent. And so the concern from the CAC was, what's it going to look like? And is it going to negatively impact the neighborhood or be not harmonious or cause some problems being that big? It's mixed-use building. So it has half commercial in the bottom floor, then one apartment unit in the bottom floor, and then the second and third floors are both apartment units. It's meant to have an elevator in the side. I think they're meant to be accessible units to people. There's, I guess, a lot of interest from people in the area who want to live close to their temple or just general kind of commercial. And so it's trying to pander to those things. The EAF's attached. We can go through it if you want. And then, but this is new. You guys didn't get to see this last time. This is their initial rendering of what the building would look like. I think the planning board said kind of unanimously they did not want to see a flat roof building like 1769. They wanted to look more residential. And so, Clark, you can jump in. The Architectural Review Board had some comments. I know they liked the balconies and the stone. But as far as like the front, I think they wanted to break this facade up even more. They didn't want this big flat facade there. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. They wanted to break it up right over that door right in the middle. So they had one internal review with just the Architectural Review Board, and we're scheduling another meeting with Lou Lisi and his architect just to share some comments. So more to follow from the Architectural Review Board.
So does that mean, so if I'm looking at this, where does the apartment end?
So this floor and this floor with the balconies would all be apartments. The bottom, like you would go in this door to go up to the second or third floors, or even like that. But essentially, this side would be an apartment, and like this side would be like he's thinking like a dentist office or like a hair. I don't know. I think
Yeah,
he
he
wanted.
said, I mean, in the notes, I mean, if the notes are still, I mean, it said that there's 2 apartments downstairs and then he said it for a total of 10. So does that mean that some people upstairs don't have balconies?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, go ahead, Clark.
Yeah, no, just to be clear, there are 2 apartments on the first floor and then 4 apartments each on the second and third floor. So maybe each apartment, each of the 4 gets a little balcony.
Okay, so each apartment, if there's 4 on each floor, there's 4 corners of the building,
Yeah.
and the balconies are in each corner of the
Right.
building.
Right.
And the bottom ones, like it looks like from this elevation, they may even have their own door, maybe.
Yeah, this is still a little bit in the early stage from the design standpoint. I don't think he's really shared an internal floor plan yet. Has he, Laura? I think just this external view, which was for the architectural review board.
Yeah, there was an initial concept that was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he changed it from that.
So that means they're gonna get rid of those trees. Is that correct in the front? They're taking down all those trees and moving that closer to the side and moving it closer to the road, right? That's what that looks like. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, although this picture is old, you can actually see, I think these were ash trees.
And they're gone now.
Pretty sure if you go out there now, they're dead. I think they were ash. Like, we actually asked them to remove them. They're not. You can even tell from this picture. These 4 trees, anyway, are not healthy. But it definitely does need a tree planting plan.
Yeah, I drove by the site today and the trees are in trouble, the ones that are there. I mean, some of them may be partially alive, but they're not quality trees, in my opinion.
But they are trees.
Laura,
Yes. I think they're
Yeah,
ash, though.
they're
I think
all
that's why they're in decline.
So from his drawings, it doesn't look like he has any trees.
Yeah, so we should definitely put that note.
And it doesn't look like there's any, so I'm not a fan of 3 stories in that area. I don't like the way it looks with the neighborhood. I would rather see something, I would rather, and I would prefer it to be much greener. I mean, if there's no trees, I mean, I don't know who can start saying, let's put some, solar panels or, how are we turning to green energy in our town without, I don't know who, I think maybe that's the planning board that has to do that, but if we don't start now, when are we starting? I don't know when.
It's not in the code, but we can always ask for that stuff. We shared with the planning board and the developer the concern for the 3 stories. And unfortunately, the town board could maybe push back on 3 stories, but as long as they meet the height requirement and they're not asking for a variance, it's difficult because it's sort of an outright allowable use, that size building, which is why I think they've been pushing it harder to the architectural review board, because if they can't say no to 3 stories, then they want to try and make it look as beautiful as they can. I can put in the note that we still feel like the building is too big, but we did bring that concern to them.
hey, Laura,
time.
my view on this is I went through the neighborhood and they're right. There are a couple 3-story buildings in the area. One is Brookside, but I wouldn't call that a 3-story building. That is a 2.5-story building because there's the roof comes down and
It's a
there's
dormer.
dormers on that top story. Likewise, the other building you might be the synagogue, but that is certainly, while it's tall, it is a residential type structure. There is a church 2 doors down or 2 streets down, but again, that is not a 3-story flat building, and there's apartment complexes, but they are clearly 2. So the scale of all the buildings in the area are either single-story long buildings like the building to the east of it, adjacent to that property, or they're 2 stories, there's residential houses, and the other 3-story or they're high height buildings are not like this building here. So I would think that the way this building looks now, it's inappropriate for the neighborhood and would be detrimental to the residential character of that neighborhood. If this were on Union Street, there might be a different discussion here, but Eastern Parkway in this part of Niskayuna is very, very different than Union Street. So
I agree.
I would say that the Architectural Review Board has to actually bring the roof down, and if he wants to get apartments in there, he should put dormers in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Clark, maybe let's do another memo to the planning board and not take action tonight.
Sure.
And be much stronger about that.
I guess I would just want to make sure that they've driven by there, because I did the same thing that Dart did, looking at the buildings and in the area. And on the flip side, on Union Street, there's that, I think it's a hairdresser, but that's really the only, in that big building. And so I concur.
Is there any input? I'm sorry, I arrived late and this discussion may have already happened. Is there any input from the residents? I looked at Google Maps and I think the building opposite is the Gates of Heaven, no, is synagogue. Like, have they said anything?
No, because the planning board just called for the public hearing. So the planning board, you guys are seeing this early, which is the way we like to do it, right? So that we can constantly be bouncing these comments back and forth. But the planning board called for their public hearing on this property to be held on June
It might be
28th.
June 10th, is it? Or
No, it's June 28th.
June 28th, okay.
So, we'll send notification to the residents in and around June 10th, and then they'll have the opportunity to comment for that 28th public hearing meeting. But that'll be the first that people are like formally notified of this project.
Thank you.
And yeah, so one, we can wait for public comment, but two, we can, I think, maybe do a formal memo about the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I can see how a development like this could radically change that character and basically jeopardize the residential nature of the area, primarily, not only in the Niskayuna side, but the Schenectady side as well.
Okay, yeah, and to Ellen's point, I think we definitely need to see a tree planting and landscaping plan to get a sense of what's going on with the green space.
Do we have anything else that we wanted to add to that?
Oh, and solar panels maybe for the covered parking.
Does he have
Can we
one-
add a line saying that the CIC is in favor of pesticide-free approaches to turf maintenance?
Yeah, we did that on a different one earlier.
Right.
Yep. We need, like, these are almost like, well, the pesticide free one, sort of like a standard note, and also green, green practices in the building. But maybe, like, because pesticide-free lawn maintenance seems to be a heavy lift for commercial, it's not a heavy lift, but they think that it is or whatever, is we could see if we could do more landscaped areas that don't require, like, pesticides, if we did more mulching and, like, shrubs or something, rather than lawn, maybe.
Oh, wildflower garden.
Or, yeah. I love wildflower gardens. Commercial buildings probably be like, no. but we
But-
can still ask.
Shrubs are a good compromise here, I think.
Yeah. If I had a commercial building, it would be surrounded by wildflowers. Ashok, it definitely would.
Maybe you could get rhododendrons or instead of your wildflowers, but yeah, I don't think they're going to go for wildflowers.
Yeah, but we could ask for like instead of forsythia, like the spice bush, and I mean I love rhododendron, but maybe instead of rhododendron, mountain laurel or something that's a
Yeah, let's go native as
Yeah.
opposed to non-native.
Anything, seriously, anything. I'll take anything.
rather than a lawn that they just dump pesticides on. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on that one?
So can I just ask another question? So in regards to, because they said that, it's a walkable for, community members. So are they handicap accessible, or is that something, is taken up by, is that standard anymore, or is that, I was just
So-
thinking of people in wheelchairs or stuff like that.
Yeah, and I could be minorly wrong here, but I've asked the building inspectors that code a couple times, and like multifamily buildings aren't required to put in an elevator if they have stairs, and the stairs are not handicap accessible typically, then they don't have to do handicapped accessibility apartments on the second and fourth. But if they choose to put in an elevator, I think then the building code requires, if the apartment is accessible, then I think that it has to meet the building code for accessibility. If it's not I'm sorry, that word black, but
Yeah.
you guys understand. And because he's putting the elevator in, I think all of them will have to be accessible. Yeah, we can clarify, but I think that's the way it works because it seems a little weird. You can sort of get around it by just putting in stairs. But he wants to do the elevator because of the demand that they did a consensus in the area or whatever if people would be interested. And it's definitely the type of population that would benefit from an elevator.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other things we want to add to our statement or questions for the developer?
Did we talk about the covered parking, Laura? I think in the new drawing,
Oh yeah.
the covered parking would be in the back,
Yeah.
Yes.
which there's a requirement that they have to have a certain number of covered parking spaces.
Would they be just like carports then?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking on that one. I know in that net zero apartment complex in Rotterdam, they did the covered parking under solar panels.
Yeah.
We could just maybe send a picture of that and say, can you consider this for the covered parking? We know it worked well in Rotterdam. Anything else?
Okay, why don't we move on then to the EAF 2021-05, One Research Circle. And this is for the installation of cell phone antennas on an existing water tower within the GE plot. It is to fill a dead zone within the town of Niskayuna. And Laura, you have a picture of that. They also sent it in a packet as well.
Sorry, I should have gotten there before I shared my screen. Yeah, so this is the existing water tower on the GE Research Circle. And the existing water tower is 207 feet tall. They're proposing two sets of arrays, one at 204 feet and one at 70 feet. This overall structure is existing, and the only thing that's being added to it are these little panels here. And so the little pink circle is where the water tower currently exists, where they would be adding the arrays. And then they took pictures from spots 1, 2, and 3. Those are sort of the closest public spots there. And so like this is what it looks like now from River Road. That's what it would look like with the antennas on them. They're right there. I kind of like see they're tiny. This is from Zenner, and there's the antennas on it there. And this is from across the river. There are the antennas on the top of that. And then this is the existing coverage. So they're trying to patch these holes here. And this is the proposed coverage from the cell tower. The planning board did hold a public hearing and did not receive any comment from the public. A whole lot of people were notified. If I go back to this map, maybe GE property, when we do public hearings and notices, it's everything that's adjacent, and the GE property literally goes from here all the way down to here. And so when we do a mail out for GE, it's literally like hundreds of people, everyone on this side of Balltown Road and everyone along River Road on either side, actually, along this corridor. So all those people were notified. Because it's a telecommunications tower, it's got the full EAF. I have never seen such a low impact telecommunication antenna ever in all my time of being a planner. But it does still have to go through the whole process. So
I might add that the Niskayuna water tower also has antennas on it, just for perspective. Off Balltown, up on the hill there. So
One of the questions that did come up in the planning board also was, would this be available or accessible to other antennas in the future, whether they're from a different communications company? And the answer was yes. So
So you could see, if I bring that back up again, they've got a chunk, but you could see one or two chunks underneath that, very similar in appearance. They all use that same technology. It's 4G, not 5G. 5G is much smaller and goes on telephone poles. So he said this is a 4G rollout.
So which makes this sort of the use of an existing water tower attractive, because when they make the switch to the 5G eventually, we're not going to have to worry about them taking down a huge antenna, because it'll be on the water tower. So
yeah.
He said that 4G also supports 5G. Like he said that you don't go, like 5G uses a small cell technology, but 4G still carries a decent amount of calls, even if you have a rollout of a 5G network. So it's not like this technology is going to be obsolete anytime soon, but you'll need both of them for a while.
And the town code actually requests that you put communication devices on existing structures like this. So it very much complies with the code.
Yep. So does anybody have any concerns or questions concerning this project at all?
Nope, just grateful that it wasn't any higher than what was already existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys comfortable doing a recommendation tonight?
If somebody wants to make a recommendation, I'm personally comfortable, yes.
I'm willing to make a recommendation.
Okay, let's go through the questions. Hold on, let me
Yep.
download this quickly. GE cell tower. Sorry, seems like a lot of clicking. Hold on. Okay. I'll translate this one to the long form, but because I think it's relatively simple, I think these are the same questions. The other one just has, I'll fill it out. So, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? My suggestion
I
to
would
that
say
would be
no.
no, because it's being co-located, which is according to zoning.
Yep.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
I'd say no again.
Will it impair the character or quality of the existing community? I feel like it's kind of nice because they put it in a commercial space. It's commercial looking, but
Yeah.
it's also in a commercial space and it's very far away from the road, which is nice. There's no critical environmental areas here.
Nope.
Doesn't result in any changes to traffic. It's just an infrastructure. Will cause an increase in use of energy or fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation. Don't know that that's relevant unless you guys understand the technology better than I do.
No, I don't think they're big draws.
Okay.
necessarily.
So no water and sewer. Will it impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? That's
No.
kind of a big one when we're looking at cell towers. But I think that's kind of nice in that there's an existing structure there. It's not really changing a lot.
Yeah, I think we have a different discussion if they were going to put a brand new tower up there, but I feel that given where we are with the circumstances, I think that it's minimal.
I can't see you guys, so is everybody in agreement on that? I know that one does come up for cell towers.
Yes, in agreement.
Okay.
Yes, in agreement.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? Really not changing any earth there.
No. There's a big rumor that cell phone towers cause destruction to birds, but that's entirely untrue.
Yeah, I think unfortunately wind generators sometimes do, but I haven't heard about telecommunication towers. So will the proposed action result in increased flooding? Nope, they're not doing any impervious. And then hazard to environmental resources or human health. You guys are actually precluded by federal government law on whether to weigh in on whether or not telecommunication towers hurt human health. They've universally said that they do not, and you're not allowed to consider that in your
Okay.
review, but you could consider environmental resources if you so choose.
Apparently they don't have teenagers.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think
Would we want to add any notes down there or anything that we can think of? It's
I
pretty
can think of
straightforward.
I'm good.
Okay. We don't normally get ones this easy, Steve. Like this one is pretty easy.
Thanks for the easy one first.
Yeah.
Laura, what is
Yeah.
known about the water tower itself? Like how old is that? Like, would it ever need to be?
Short up.
Yeah.
So when they put structures like that on an existing tower, they have to have a geotechnical engineer look at it and assess wind shear and make sure that the antennas can't blow off, or that if there's uneven weight, they're not going to pull the tower down. It's a fairly rigorous engineering analysis to make sure that it can handle that. And that gets stamped and sent in with the building permit per code. Typically, because we, to Dart's point, we actually have cell tower antennas on our water towers. And when they are ever making changes or anything, they have to go through all of that. And our engineers are very thorough when they review it. In this case, it has to meet building permits, but it's really GE's engineers that have to be okay with it. I mean, it has to meet building code. We'll take the stamp. But very likely GE's engineers will review the whole thing as well. So
I think their application is 107 pages long too.
yeah, it is.
So it's quite
Yeah.
thorough, and it's submitted by at least 2 lawyers were involved. So it's a very thorough package.
Yeah, and I think if they don't get it on the water tower, then, and they can't find a spot in that area to put it, then they can put a cell tower up. So
Yeah.
it's we can't not let them put coverage in that area. So this definitely is the best of all situations.
Agreed. Thank you.
To Dart's point, we're not allowed to weigh in on human health, And also, if they show a demonstrated need of lack of coverage, they are allowed under that same federal law to put a spot there. They're not pushing that, you know, it's this or else. They're being really respectful about it, but it is a thought when you're considering it. Okay, does anybody want to make a
Yeah.
motion?
I make the motion to give it the negative declaration.
I'll second that. So Steve, just so you know, a negative declaration means that there's no further review. If we were to make a positive deck, what we would be recommending is an environmental impact statement, potentially for the developer. And then there's a conditional neg det where we're in between and we have conditions that may mitigate the impact, just so you know.
Thank you.
Generally, when applicants hear negative, the word negative, they get very nervous. But in this situation, it's good.
Sure.
The applicant. Okay, moving on to discussion items.
Can you just do an all in favor or anyone opposed to that? I got the.
Sorry. Yes, thank you for keeping me on track. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Anybody abstain? Any abstentions? Okay, let the record show that all are in favor of aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next discussion topics, historic codes. So the town is looking at updating the code to include a section in historic preservation. It's gone back and forth through several committees, and it was sent to us for our review as part of the SECRA charge. We get a chance to take a look at it and review it, see if there's any impacts. So I'd like to open the floor to any discussions we might have on this code or any comments people may have.
I muted myself a little. I will just, because I know
I mean, if you want
sometimes.
to go through it, Laura, a little bit.
Yeah, I'll just hit the high points.
Yep.
So there's a couple purposes to the Historic Preservation Code. One is actually to codify, and we looked at this a little bit when we were looking at revising our secret code, which eventually we have to continue to do, but it codifies the Historic Preservation Commission. So that's important and helpful. The second thing that it does is it gives a purpose to the commission, which includes like inventorying the historic places. So I know a bunch of you guys are new, but we had reviewed a property in which we felt like the proposal was very damaging to an existing historic structure there, and it would compromise the character of the community. And our decision was litigated and overturned in part because they felt like we didn't have a clear definition of what was historic and not historic in the town of Niskayuna, or didn't have a good list or inventory. And so for lessons learned, we want to make sure that we have a decent and positive way of identifying properties that are historic, not in a restrictive way. Like if you live in the Stockade, it's a historic district and you can't make modifications to those buildings without going before the historic commission and getting approval. That's not what this code would do, but it would make a list of historic buildings, make notation of what's important about them. And that just gives a little bit more like heaviness to if we're looking at a proposal that's going to change the nature of historic buildings. So it's not so regulating that it's restrictive to private property, but it should help us when we're reviewing things that change the nature of a community, right? So that's in there. And then making people who want their buildings designated historical, again, can do something where they get like a plaque. We can do sort of a program honoring people who want to put up or be designated as historic buildings. So an inventory, and then separately a process to allow people to take a house that's on the inventory and designate it as historic within the town of Niskayuna. And then the last thing, which is pretty important, is right now, if somebody buys a historic home, they can just come in for a building permit and knock it down. And there's nothing we can do about it. They absolutely have the right to do that. And we've lost a couple. in that way. And we saw that in the state code and a couple other places. This code does require that so New York State Code for historic structures, it says anything over 50 years. People are like, that's not that old. But it can be. And it just depends really on what's the building and what's going on. So just to be in line with New York State Code, any building that's over 50 years old, when they applied for a demolition permit, that building would be brought quickly before the Historic Preservation Commission. They'd have a timeline of 30 days to take a look at the demolition permit. And if they had any questions or concerns, they could reach out to the person who was trying to demolish it and just have that conversation with them. Like, can you save it? What's going on? Why do you need to take it down? I don't think that it would be like, no, you can't take it down, but it definitely makes it a process and makes it a much more thoughtful process. So hopefully that would protect historic buildings a little bit more from being taken down. So I feel like that's a really important thing to have in there. Those are sort of did I miss anything, Dart?
No, I think you hit it, all the high spots, yeah. So I have some comments, but I wanted to give other members a opportunity if they had any questions or comments. At this time.
So the code is only talking about, I guess the key point is that section 4, demolition of any building or structure more than 49 years old. So I live in Old Niskayuna, and nearly every house here is more than 49 years old. So if somebody wants to put a deck or extend their kitchen out, this wouldn't be triggered. Am I reading it right?
That's right. It's only for full demolition. So it's not for building permits, or it doesn't put all of Old Niskayuna in a historic district. Although really, Old Niskayuna is so beautiful. It should. But anyway, it doesn't do that. It just would be if you're going to just completely raise the house and start anew, it would be like, why do you have to do that? Like, what's really going on with this property that you want to take this thing down? You know, even in Old Niskayuna, you're talking 1920s, it's actually 100 years ago. It would potentially be a loss to take some of those homes down. And what are you going to put back? It'd be better if you can keep them and keep the character of the neighborhood. But it wouldn't impact additions. It wouldn't impact people putting up garages. It wouldn't impact decks and front porches or anything like that. It would only be if they were going to take the whole thing down.
Thank you.
That neighborhood is, by the way, just amazing. I don't live in it, but I, think that someday along the line, it probably should have some kind of protections, but.
Yeah, I think my house is the one I'm sitting right now is built in 1921, so we'll make it like exactly 100 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like if you're close to Union, you're like in the 1900s. Like in your area, it's like the 1910s, 1920s, and then when you get closer to like Providence, it's like the 30s and the 40s. Like it radiates out in this like perfect decadal pattern of growth. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I have a couple comments. Laura, do you want me to just go through them?
Yeah, I'll pull it up and I can make notes while you're going through them.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, so in item 2, it says that the chairperson of the commission shall be appointed by the town board for a 1-year term. Is there a particular reason for that? And I found it was kind of unclear because you have above in one that the members are staggered with 3-year terms, but the chair is only 1 year. Was that intentional or not?
So for planning board, zoning board, CIC, I know you guys only have 1-year terms, but typically chairmen are always only 1 year.
Okay, and is that a separate appointment or is that appointed from the standing members?
In all of the commissions that I do, it's appointed from the standard members, but maybe we should make a note here that we want to just have clarification on that.
Yeah, I just thought it was unclear, that's all. I was just thinking of potential ambiguities.
Okay.
Okay, the next comment I had was in section 3A. We list the inventories of significant historic buildings, structures, objects, sites, and historic districts within the town. But in item 6, we discuss landmarks and we talk about landmarks. And I'm wondering if we need to be consistent between
Yeah, put landmarks here. I think if we
I
do
would put
discuss it,
landmarks there as well. I
Yeah,
think
for
that would
sure.
be appropriate. Let's see. Okay, I do have a concern of probably discussion in the next two items that I sort of flagged. And one of them has to do with the demolition, but this other part here has to do with item 4 on the second page under or subparagraph 4 under 3, where it says that the owners of the property of the historic register have no restriction, use, or maintenance of the property whatsoever, and the one above it is just for recognition. And
yes.
I understand why we're doing it, and I support that in a way, but I'm concerned that we're by putting those two items in there, if we need to make a determination based on historic value of an object, are we weakening our ability? Because basically, can the applicant come back and say, well, this is just an honorary roll and not anything of value? I'm not suggesting we change the restrictions on use and maintenance, but I'm wondering if we need to change the words, and maybe Paul Briggs can help us on that, to basically put something of, it's of substantial value to the community or something, or is recognized as substantial value to the surrounding community. I think there's an addition there, probably to number 3.
Yeah, maybe we could ask Paul like what the language could be there, but like maybe we can say this be more specific. It doesn't restrict, how they maintain or add on to their property, but it could
It's a
get consideration during, like subdivision or land use review.
Well, what I'm thinking of this and the other one, when we get to the demo, I'll talk to that about the review, but I think what we want to do is put a value statement in there in this part here, saying why it's honorary and why it's a value, because then what we can do is we can use that as a reason in the SECRA Review Act if this comes up, because we could say it was recognized as valuable to the community. That's all.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we'll have to propose language for that.
Yeah, I think it's something that Paul can work out. And then the demolition. Part of my concern here is that there's no bite in this at all, in the sense that essentially after 45 days, the applicant can take down the building regardless. And here's where I see the inconsistency. And I went through the SECRA law to see if there was some avenue that we could play a role in, but I don't think there is, unless there is another action associated with this. But when I think about like what happened with Mansion Square, that historic nature was brought into the SECRA process, and there was a lot of input there, and the CAC, along with the planning board, was able to come up with a plan that saved the structure, although not the historic value. The developer could have come in and leveled the building, and even with this in place, the code we have in place now, it would not be a SECRA action, and there's no review for that. So essentially, someone could come in, take down a historic building, and then start the development process and come before the board and say, hey, I want to do something else here. Now that we might say would be segmentation, and there might be some avenues of action, but if the building's already taken down, it's a lost asset. So what I would recommend is that, and I did look at several different municipalities on this, is to put up some sort of review either by the Historic Preservation Board or some other ad hoc committee that looks at it. At the very least, we should have a public hearing on the matter to make it a little more arduous. And I noticed that in several of the, like for example, Bedford and even Clifton Park, the town board can always overrule the finding. So there is an out for the applicant if they do want a demo. And then there's all these exceptions too, like for health, safety, and all that. The other thing I thought was really good is there's the applicant is required to make a statement of why they wanted to take the building down and what's the driver behind that. So I'm just wondering if we need to put something else in there. We can't do it as the CAC. I already looked that up. It's a type 2. It's considered a type 2 action.
So, I just had I'm making the notes, but I had a quick thought. Like, I do think that it's important, like for even a potentially, the buildings in Old Niskuna, let's just say, a lot of them probably wouldn't get designated on the historic inventory, because the inventory is likely really going to focus very similarly to the 1982 inventory that we have already, which is going to be like the existing farm homes, things that really had impact to the community when it was being developed in the 1800s. And so I would wonder if there's a way that you could split the process, because while I think that it would be a shame to take a home down in Old Niskuna for no reason, I think, a 30-day waiting period to take a home down in Old Niskuna and just double check everything is probably okay. Yeah. Whereas I'm wondering if you could split it. So maybe just any home over 50 years would go through this one process. But if the home did get put on the inventory or was designated historic, that it would have more of the process that you just described. I'm not sure.
I would be willing to allow the committee, the Historic Preservation Commission, to make that determination. I think I agree with you. It needs to be 2 steps here. So, I think the way I read this is the 30 days is a sort of a time to actually do the investigation on there. What I'm thinking is if after the Historic Commission goes through and they say, gosh, this is a structure that is really important to this unit, has the elements of either architecture or building material or some connection. If they make that determination, we should make a second tier that perhaps maybe has the public hearing and all that. I agree with you, Laura. If someone is taking down a house that's 50 years old and there's not a lot of value to the community to that, certainly the town of Niskuna shouldn't stand in the way. I hesitate to say that it has to be listed on the historic register of the town, because we could miss something, or a building could come up that would be of value to the town. I think of the Paul Schaefer homes, perhaps. They're not necessarily that old. They're probably around, 60 years old. I think the commission, we're putting together a commission. They should make that designation, or some other committee. But I would be comfortable with them.
Okay. Are you guys kind of in agreement with those comments?
I definitely support adding some teeth, as Dart pointed out, at some layer.
We have delay. Did you say something too, Ellen?
Oh yeah, I just was in agreement. I didn't think of linking it up to the seeker so that it had some, that was a really good idea.
Yeah, I think Dark said we actually couldn't link it to the seeker, but
no,
we
I don't
can.
think we can. That's the problem. Is a demolition permit is a type 2 action.
But we could link it to the historic committee,
Yeah.
and so, and then to Dart's, like as a second tier, we could maybe add some language in there that if they do determine that there's a significant loss, then a secondary process would be implemented. Of course, the town board could overrule it, but like it would sort of be like a secret review where they could either
Yeah.
say, this is negative deck, or no, you definitely need to look at this more. It needs to have a more thorough review before you take it down with more public comment and stuff like that. We could I'm in support of that. So what my thoughts are is, the first two I think are pretty easy. We'll just get clarification for you on that, and then we'll have to work with the attorney on additional language for those 2 points, and then bring it back to the next meeting.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I also wanted to quickly add that the NRI process that we are working on, even though it's called the Natural Resources Inventory, it frequently includes cultural and historical resources as well. And I believe it says so explicitly in the statute authorizing CACs to undertake this NRI work. So it's not going to add any teeth, but it could help with the public outreach component in terms of educating the public about the historical significance.
Okay, do we have any other comments we want on this item? Okay, then hearing none, let's go to the reports. And Ashok, do you want to give us an update on the natural resource inventory?
Sure. So the natural resource inventory, the working group has been meeting monthly. We meet on the last Wednesday of the month. We met in May. The grant application to the Niskayuna Community Foundation has been submitted. It's not a bad idea for me to contact them and say, well, it's submitted, now what? How long is your review process or something like that. The consultant, Jim Nordgren, wanted to make a visit to Niskayuna to do a kind of a preliminary study. And Laura mentioned that we should make it really clear that, this is entirely pro bono. There's no guarantee of any future things. I sent him an email and he replied back saying, okay, I get it. It is pro bono. So I have it in writing from him that it's a pro bono visit. He is coming on the 19th, and a couple of board members have expressed strong interest in the project, like Rosemary Perez Jaquith, like she was very supportive. And Denise Murphy-McCraw, she said she'd like to meet the consultant when they make the visit. And Jim said he can be here as early as 10 a.m. And I'm thinking about like making a meet and greet kind of event at 10:30 a.m. But I need a place. I need a place that is outside, can handle about 10, 20 people, and can handle rain.
You can do the gazebo at town hall. Let me just double check the calendar. Hold on.
Okay.
Or even like River Road Park. There's at least picnic tables and.
Do we need
Yeah, that's
to make reservations by contacting somebody?
If you want a pavilion, yes. But oops, let me just check. The gazebo is totally open on. You said June 19th, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking 10:30 a.m. because he said he can be there at 10 a.m. So I kind of like the idea of meeting in front of the town hall. It's symbolic.
Yeah, it looks like right now there's actually nothing going on at town hall at that time, and I can reserve the gazebo for you.
Oh, that's
Sure,
perfect.
thank you.
It's big too.
Yeah, you can fit a lot of people in there.
Okay, so will my CAC colleagues and Laura be able to attend?
So I just looked at my schedule and I am unfortunately working, but I'm going to see if I can maybe switch my hours and I'll work on the 20th and not the 19th. I'll see what my boss says.
Excellent. And he said he can drive around to some properties and take a look. And I thought during this initial visit, we can just stick to, properties that are already protected, like say, take a, people can meet him at 10:30, but then, who comes with him to look at property 1, property 2, property 3, that can be, left to people's schedules. He said he can stay as late as 3 p.m. So I was thinking we walk along the river, along what's the place called, Lions Park, and maybe go to Reese Sanctuary and look around there. One of the things that I've been continuously stressing is the importance of small pockets of nature that exist in neighborhoods here and there. And there's a bunch of them in Old Niskayuna, including a very nice pond with turtles and all. So I want to take a drive with him. And you know what? I don't know his vaccination status. I should ask that. Note to myself. Take a drive and take a look at some of these small properties. But if there are anything specific that they would like, people would like Jim to take a look at, he's doing it for free, and he said he can spend as much as 5 hours here. So, I'm all open to ideas.
So can I just ask a question for those people that just are going to come to meet him?
Mm-hmm.
Are there going to be, like a list or some pictures of the areas that you're thinking of, so that anybody who doesn't drive, physically with him, like say the board members, they'll be able to see, like, okay, here's the, the pond with turtles, in a picture, you know what I mean? Or
Well, I can print some pictures and bring them. That's not a, but I don't think there's any nature place that's pretty close and within walking distance to the town. Wait, there's some next to the library, right? There's a boardwalk.
There is.
Yeah.
It's kind of falling apart and it's all Phragmites, but
Okay.
you could also print out the slides. Like
Okay.
Jim had some too that he emailed to us, right?
Yeah.
He had some conceptual stuff and you've had some conceptual stuff. So you could just have some conceptual stuff and then some pictures of ideas of where you guys wanted to go look at that you could share with anybody who couldn't go with you.
Okay.
One of the areas that I'm just going to throw out, because I think it's very different than a lot of Niskayuna, just so he gets an idea of the diversity, is down by where the Rexford Bridge is. Aren't there like river flats down there? I think off East Street or something. Is that where?
There's a state trail in the East Street, William Street area that goes over to the banks of the Mohawk River. A big tree fell down, so it's not amazing to go. You got to be like okay with walking through like tall grass, country. But as long as he's fine with that, there's definitely a way to access the Mohawk down there.
I was thinking that that's a very different. When you walk along the Mohawk, if you think about where the state park is and where the town landfill used to be, it's very ravine and hilly and stuff. And that's sort of like one natural area, sort of like the Elijah I think there's kind of similar. And then I'm thinking, off East Street, that's another type of area. Rice Sanctuary is another type. And then maybe, the park that you're thinking of, or the area you're thinking of, Eshok, where the pond is and stuff, that's sort of like a pocket park or something.
Mm-hmm.
We can pick whatever we want. I was just going through my mind of where we could maybe get him an idea of the diversity within the town.
This East Street business, like, I don't think I know about this. You're not talking about Aqueduct Park, right?
No.
But it's on the other side of Aqueduct Park, near Rexford Bridge.
It's down the road. It's off. Is it off off that street there, or Laura, or am I mistaken?
I mute myself because I feel like people don't. But it's off of River Street. It's down here. I would definitely call it a mud flat.
Could you make that a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I think my computer is. There it goes. Oh no, now I'm gonna mess it up. It's right here. This down here. This is River Street, and there's a state-owned trail that starts here that you can walk to, and then you get when the locks aren't in. This is fairly low, and you can actually walk all along the river, all the way down these mud flats, all the way down to actually a waterfall. But when the water's in, you can't get too far, and the water's in now. But like in the winter, spring and fall, you can walk this a lot. In the summer, it's a little bit harder.
Where would you park if you're going here?
Shoot, I'm sorry. You can park down there. That I think that like it's state owned, and the road is owned by the town. We just paved it. But if you're really concerned about it, you can also just park at my house. My house is right there. I can text you my address, Ashok. You're always welcome to do that. I'm sorry, my computer is not very responsive.
I've never been there.
Laura,
I've never
I
seen that.
defer to your judgment. If you don't think it's a good time or a good place to go, you know.
Oh, I mean, I love it. I think most natural people aren't afraid of walking through the long grass. It's just that the actual trail, it had a giant cottonwood come down, and the trail's not maintained by the state. It's mostly maintained by the people who live down there. And so when the big tree came down, it wasn't worth it for them to cut through it. So if you're walking on the trail, it just makes a loop, and it no longer connects to the Mohawk River. So you have to get yourself, so you either have to climb through the tree or you have to walk through some tall grass. I have no problem walking through the tall grass, and I'm happy to lead anybody to the riverbank. It's all state property. It's completely open to anybody who ever wants to walk it.
I have no problem either.
But like the beautiful trail that was once there got taken out. The tree is enormous. Like you can't even, it's practically a sequoia tree. It's like, is a huge cottonwood that came down, and it's just too much, I think, because it's not really, there's not trail volunteers. It's just the people who live there. It's like 4 houses. So
Is there a space that you can like cut though to like put to like somebody could cut it to, or
yeah, there is. I mean, yeah, if you know, I overcommit myself to everything. I could probably try and make a trail down there before the 19th.
No, I don't think I'm not asking that. I don't think you overcommit. No. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, I say I could, and then sometimes I don't, but I could try.
No, there's far too much on your plate already. Don't take this on. Don't take this on.
I mean, like my daughter and I, we just walk through the grass, like, and I think the people who live down there walk through the grass now. But I just feel like, you know, I'm a town employee. I have to say, it is muddy, buggy, and tick country. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. We go down there all the time. But if somebody's following me, they'd be like, I was gonna take my Girl Scouts down there, and I decided not to, Steve, because it's a little bit too.
So, you know, whether or not it's on the areas to go, you know, I think that the people that come to meet him and sort of, it'll be, you know, a way to introduce, you know, areas that we're going to be covered. I mean, I've lived here in Niskuna for 20 years, and I have walked just about, I thought, every place in this town, and you just named something that I've never been to. I mean, and when I grew up, I had friends that lived right on the water there, and I didn't know about it. So, I just think that, you know, if you have, even if you have like the map of the town and the place is like pinpricked, you know, that so people can see these are all the places that we're talking about that is important and why we're doing this, you know, especially for the town board members so that they have an idea of the scale and why it's so important in case it's
Yeah,
not.
you know what? Like we have a poster printer at the college, and I you know, for a small fee they will let you print a big scale maps and things like that, and I can get some of those printed out and bring it over.
So, you know, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we spend some time in the gazebo and everybody points out their favorite spots in the town. Laura, you're on mute again.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with you. I think that's a great idea. If you have the map, it's a great way to engage people, because then not only are you talking to them, you know, even just the town board members, you're saying like, here's a map. Like, you know, we've got a couple. Do you know any? Like, which was your favorite? Like, put a little mark on something that's natural in Niskayuna that you like and know, and that gives you a chance to see and hear things that you might not know of.
Is there a table there, Laura, to put a large map and for people to stand around? Okay, excellent. All right, I'll make some prints. I think, you know, from what Jim has already sent out, there's enough to make some prints of large maps, and I'll have some stuff with me on the 19th.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think that will work good, because I mean, if he's available for 5 hours, that you might, you know, struggle to get people to, you know, go to all the places or, you know, be able to, you know, exude that much time, but at least they'll get a feel for it.
Sure.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay, Ellen, pesticide update.
I don't really have one. I don't.
Okay.
I think that it's just. I think it's just a slow process that is going to continue. I've had people stop me or stop my husband, you know, and ask me about my sign and how do I keep my lawn pesticide free. And so I've told them, and I'm still going to go and do the
Niskaday.
yeah, I'll do. Oh yeah.
Oh, and the farmers market.
Yes, yes. I forgot about Niskaday. What day is Niskaday? Shoot.
It's like August. Something.
Oh, it's August. Okay, I was thinking May. Oh my God.
It's usually in May, but
Yeah.
I think it got moved.
Okay. I need to check for because I am going on vacation, but I'm back in August. So I'll put down Niskaday, and then I was gonna do the other ones, and then yeah. I'm not if anybody has suggestions, I'm open to them.
Yeah, Nick, you might be able to really help with this. I think every time we do an email blast or some kind of like outreach, we get people coming buying signs. But like recently, because we haven't had any like sign up thing, we haven't had anybody come buy one. But every time we do a public outreach, people come and speak to us about it. And actually, some people have just taken the pledge and not wanted the sign, which is completely fine. But like keeping the pledge up in people's minds, like maybe we could add that to some of the stuff that you and Ryan are working on.
Yeah, no, that's what I had thought of when I was, you know, thinking about doing starting a social media page for the group here. You know, try to promote these type of things like the pesticide group and the pledge, and you know, trying to, you know, maybe make a list of why they're, you know, beneficial, what, you know, how you can be pesticide free and stuff like that, and try to get more people to, you know, go pesticide, take the pledge, and things like that. I was, you know, thinking about, I know that the town has promoted it on their Facebook or whatever, and on, you know, the website and emails, but I think, you know, maybe if we have more control of our own page type of thing, we could, you know, kind of do it more frequently or when we want to, and try to push it out there more often than, you know, asking somebody to do it for us or however that process works right now. And, you know, just promoting besides that, just, you know, other community outreach that we, you know, do within the group here, you know, whether it be the, you know, other natural resources inventory or, you know, just things that we're working on, and kind of just, you know, let people know what's going on with our, you know, agenda and stuff like that. And things, you know, how to go green and, you know, benefits of solar panels and stuff like that. Just try to promote more of the things that we discuss on here, and try to get more outreach. Social media, I know Facebook is pretty popular, so I would suggest that one. And I know our student member was gonna, we're gonna meet up virtually sometime soon this month, hopefully before the next meeting, and maybe come up with more of a solid plan between the two of us to kind of get that started. If you guys are good with that type of plan.
If you guys come up with a Facebook page for the CAC, I think that would be very, very, very beneficial.
Yeah, I saw, I was just, when I first, joined the committee, I was trying to look for one, and I didn't really see one besides, what the town was promoting from it. And I saw other municipalities that have CAC, they have their own private CAC pages for that municipality. And I thought maybe, why shouldn't we do that as well and promote ourselves more than somebody else can?
Yeah, because I think what happens is when we use the town social media platform, it gets out, but then it gets buried in everything else that the town does. So because we'll do an email blast, and then 2 hours later I'll be like, water main break on Mohawk Road, and then it's already pushed down. So if there is a way that we could reach out to people in a consistent way and start more of the signs getting out there, I think would be great.
Definitely.
I wonder if you could set up a small little display or something at the co-op. I mean, I could almost see a little poster board explaining the pesticide-free pledge and program. I wonder, would they be open to something like that? If we could educate them enough that.
Ooh, I like that. My son's Boy Scout troop had a little station outside the co-op. A lot of people stop by. If we put a table and sit and talk to people,
Yeah.
We need popcorn.
That is a good idea.
Cookies, though. No, I'm just kidding. We may, and I don't know. This is actually, my other life, but I wonder if even sometimes stewards, we could just put up an example of the pledge. Sometimes stewards will let you do stuff like that. I don't know. I could ask. If it's too political, they won't, but I don't consider it to be political. But I don't know. We could ask for things like that.
I don't think it hurts to ask at all. I think the co-op has done stuff for the town before, put up flyers and stuff. So I think they would do it.
Nora, why don't I reach out to the co-op? I'll take it on.
Okay, I will see if I can go through my contacts. That we were able to get a flyer up in Stewart's a couple months ago. So I'll see if I can tag the Stewart's end.
Okay.
That's great.
And then Nick will work on the social media end.
Perfect. Moving on, Low Mo. I know our champion has left us. Kathy, where do we stand on that, Laura, with the wildflowers? Do we need to surge and get them in, or do you need help?
So it's kind of so we're doing okay. Highway's ready and happy and willing to work with us on it. The town board's okay. We changed the boundaries. The residents are okay. I think we were going to do one more letter when we were literally not going to mow. I think Highway was originally not going to even start mowing this spring, but they didn't know where the boundaries were. So they mowed it a couple times. Not a big deal. We just need to get them up. And I think the signage is really important. And maybe when we initially put the signs up and stake it out, we can put some flagging and stuff so that it's clear. But we were really excited about flowers coming from Schenectady County, because one of the things that we heard from people is that we wanted to plant the seeds up front, and we did get them. They're dill and parsley, so that's not what we were going for.
Yeah.
We could plant the dill and parsley. I'm thinking of maybe planting it somewhere else. And I'm a little bit back to square one. What I would really like is just simple things like black-eyed Susans and daisies. They're very simple. They don't die. And they can add that pop to people who are entering into the Lomo so that they don't feel like, and I'm going to actually call the county. But still need some flowers. I think we can get the signs up in the meantime anyway. I am pretty resourceful about flowers. I was hoping that I guess I was just not expecting Dylan parsley.
Yeah.
Do we have the signs?
No, we're working on ordering them. I can bring up some stuff that Ellen has been working on. So we sent the sign, like your sign from Etsy, Ashok. I took a look at it. There was something about it that I didn't think quite worked, and I think it said it was pollinator friendly zone, and I wanted it to say like a no-mo zone or something. There was something slightly different about it, so I sent it to our sign company and to have him make it rather than through Etsy. He's very reasonable cost, and so he's working on a quote for that for me. And then Ellen found these for the big sign. So we've got the two little guys that are we've got a couple of the little guys that are round and have the B on them. And then this would be the big one that would be right at the entrance to the Nomo area or the Lomo area. So this was the one that was kind of like her inspiration. And then she's got a couple of designs here. Well, our sign guy can put the grass back behind it, you know? But this would be the big sign. So that people could stop, and like maybe we still want to add like a link to our Facebook page or something when we have it, but like this would be the idea here. And then so really right now we're working on ordering the signs. Highway department's happy and ready to help us as soon as we can. They did get us the flowers, but they weren't what I was expecting, so we need to get a couple more flowers. But it is rolling. Just
yeah. Do you have any idea where we might be able to get flowers? I mean, because we're sort of running out of the runway here as far as getting them.
Oh, you mean for the season?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our Veterans Memorial outside of Town Hall is partially purchased from stores and partially donated by lots of people who work at the town that go into their gardens and divide stuff up.
Well, I'm wondering if that's what we need is an outreach program to get flowers.
Yeah. People are very willing to donate stuff from their lawn. Maybe when we get the signs up, we could do an email blast and say, hey, anybody who's gardening, got some extra daylilies, you thinning out your black-eyed Susans, like, please bring them on over. We're trying to make I don't know that we actually want daylilies, but bring them on over, and we would love to plant them in our Lomo zone.
Yeah, I mean, we could make a list of native species that would be
that we want.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably certain amount we don't. I mean,
I think if we say daylilies, we'd probably get a lot of daylilies. Everybody's always dividing daylilies.
We have gooseneck flowers. I don't know if they're native, but they spread once you get them embedded. They look nice. They just take over everything, but I don't think they're native, so I don't think we'd want to put them there. But
like, I know I have some black-eyed Susans that we could thin. It's not going to be enough to like make it, amazing, but we could definitely put some there. There's some even that we could probably thin from our pollinator-friendly habitat garden in front of the solar panels. The Coreopsis out there, as soon as it finishes blooming, we could definitely bring some of that over there. I don't know if anybody's got daisies, but daisies are really easy to thin.
I don't have any daisies.
I'm trying to think what's an early thing. What's an early thing that we could get? Maybe some catmint. Sometimes around this time, I literally, go and find half-dying plants from Lowe's and get them for like $1 and bring them back to life, which I'd do anyway. So, and I wonder if we could, like, Kathy still wants to help. She might have some seedlings that she could share. I'm wondering if we could just get things from people.
So can we just go back to the signs for 2 seconds? So the first sign was the inspiration. The second sign had basically the verbiage on it, and then the thing, and then the third sign was sort of was the one that I did. It doesn't have a background at all, but I didn't know if you can put a picture from any, from anyone that we had gotten around town. And then it has like different, it has like a little different saying on it. And if I don't know if Ashok wanted to look at them, I probably should have, emailed them to him as well. And
Sure, you can email them to me. I can take a look. I was actually going to ask if you can email them to me because we have started 2 LOMO areas at Union College. And we are actually looking for good signs, and I liked what you had over there. I think the total area at Union College is about 2-3 acres, something like that. They're 2 separate patches, but right now we don't have too many signs. I think we can. Those are good signs.
so this sign right here, I thought, you can push the writing over, and then you could put a picture of. So I don't know how this transfers into signage. It's clearly not my forte. But if you can put a picture of, Niskayuna or, Union College, or so that green that was behind there, that's the one that I wanted for the other one, and I basically just took that one and redesigned it.
Okay.
To this one, and I just wanted green grass, behind it, and then this one I thought, so this one right here, the grow zone, why, by allowing the grass, so, and then I didn't know if you wanted to increase the size of the label for the town. I've been caught up in a lot, some family things lately that have really just taken way more time than I thought of, and I don't foresee it diminishing.
No, I think it's great. Like, I think that's everything we need to work with. We can send it to the sign company and get some, because sign companies will take that. That's what they do. They take the ideas and then they make them. So I feel like it's in a really good place for us to send to the sign companies and get a quote. And Highway seemed very willing to install them. So we just need to get the signs, get them installed, put ribbon between them, I think, a little bit, so that the highway department stops mowing, and then maybe do an outreach. Maybe just do a planting day. Say, hey, we've established our low mow zone. We would love to have wildflowers. Anybody from the town that wants to bring over some flowers, we're going to be there from 10 a.m. to 11 or something on almost want to do it in the fall, though. You almost, I would say, want to just not mow it for the rest of the year and then plant whatever people are happy to bring and transplant in the fall. Oh, one thing we could do, though, is if Joel Bezoin starts his Celt farm, maybe we could steal some lupin from him.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
He has offered them.
To us for the Lomo. Yeah. That'd be cool, because he could probably give us a bunch of big scoops that we could bring over there. He also has some iris, which are really nice.
Grow daisies and can you grow daisies and some, from seeds?
Mm-hmm. That's what Kathy was saying. She was saying she might have started seeds that she'd be able to bring us over. Like, if we're ready, I think we could reach out to Kathy and she would still help us with some plants.
So can you just put them on the ground? Like, can you just dig holes and plant them in the ground and see what happens? Or is that what people do?
Remove the grass, right? Because the seeds won't compete with the grass. So you'd have to pull the grass out and make a space, and then you can put the seeds down, and they definitely grow. They're really hardy from seeds. But like where we have a wildflower area in Blatnick Park, the highway department went through and they tilled up a big section. And then the Girl Scouts threw the seeds over it, and it took a couple years to grow, but it does look pretty nice now.
So I can so I'm more than, if you give me a work day that I'm more than happy to come and work. I just need advance notice to make sure I'm not working, and then also or anytime after I'm okay with I have, my dad has a rototiller, so I can have him put it in the back of his car, and I can go over and I can, rototill a line, and if it, as long as it doesn't have to look pretty, I can try to rototill a line and drop some seeds in there. But
I can too.
I'm a very particular. I'm not like don't confuse me with somebody. I have raised garden beds, but
Ellen, you and I are like the same human being. I feel like we should focus on the signs and then pick a date probably towards the end of summer, because we're not going to be able to water them.
Yeah.
So probably towards the end of summer, early fall, where we bring as much color and stuff over there as we can.
That'll give us more time to get organized on that too.
So are you thinking maybe like the beginning of September, the end of August? I mean, the end of August, beginning of September?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want it to be cool enough that they can survive the remainder of the heat, and then hopefully get some fall rains and then go dormant, and then have all the spring to get really strong.
Okay. And I will, I have some planters, and I will get some seeds, and I will try to start some things. I'll see how I do.
Thank you, Ellen.
Great. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our agenda. Did we want to discuss anything else? Anybody have any other thoughts?
I just
Go ahead.
just one last thing. So if you can just tell me what you want me to, like, I literally need to know, like, so I'm doing daisies and black-eyed Susans. And if there's something else that you want me to throw in there, just seriously send me or tell me what it is and I'll get it. But, don't set me off on my own, because, could end up with, roses, for God's sakes.
I can send you a list. Like, the Tree Council has a list of good native plants, like echinacea, bee balm.
Is it on the website?
No, I can email it to you. The Tree Council's, no, it's not yet. We're working on it.
Okay, yeah, no. It's quite all right. It's quite all right. Yeah. No. Perfect.
I think also too, New York State has a list of native flowers. I think I've seen it somewhere. I can't tell you the website though. You'll have to search for it.
Yeah, I saw that one's like bee pollinators, and basically it's just so many that I just glaze over. I just need 4 that you want me to do, and I'm so much better with just give me 4 and I'll start them and I'll do it. But don't give me 12, because then I
Okay. Do we want to entertain a motion to adjourn?
I do the motion to adjourn.
Okay. I'll second it. Okay, so the meeting's adjourned. My
You
next
have
meeting
to
is
call
July
for all
7th.
in favor.
all in
All in
favor.
favor. Yes, all in favor. Yes, I don't know.
All
what
in
happened.
favor.
I'm having mental
Yes.
block today, Laura. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick, for doing that. The social media stuff.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.